What's up, everybody? It's Alan the Kraken, and today we are going to talk about why grading companies have been doing it wrong for years and why a lot of people get inaccurate grades. And now we have a scientific reason behind that, and hopefully, with this new information that is coming out from science, we can actually start changing grading company policies in order for us to get more accurate grades. So without further ado, let's get started. Um, this has to deal with visual process lag. Um, Much like a YouTube video, it has to buffer in order for the pixels to form an image on our screen so that we can able to read and perceive and watch a lot of our favorite YouTube content and videos. Um, and this article explains some cutting edge research that has been done into this study, into this area of science. And without further ado, everything we see is a mashup of the brain's last 15 seconds of visual information. This is written by Mauro Manassi, University of Aberdeen, and David Whitney, University of California, Berkeley. Our eyes are continuously bombarded by enormous amount of visual information, millions of shapes, colors, and ever-changing motion all around us. For the brain, this is no easy feat. On the one hand, the visual world alters continuously because of changes in lights, viewpoint, and other factors. On the other, our visual input constantly changes due to blinking and the fact that our eyes, head, and body are frequently in motion. To get an idea of the noisiness of the visual input, place a phone in front of your eyes and record a live video while you are walking around and looking at different things. The jittery, messy result is exactly what your brain deals with in every moment of your visual experience. This can be seen also in the video below. The white circle, or sorry, let's see. The white circle on the right shows potential eye movements, and the blurry bob on the left reveals the jumpy visual input in every moment. Let's take a look. So as you can see, we're only able to pay attention closely to a small area, and that small area turns out to be jittery as our attention moves around and it needs time to process. Yet seeing never feels like work for us. Rather than perceiving the fluctuations in visual noise that a video might record, we perceive a consistently stable environment. So, how does our brain create this illusion of stability? This process has fascinated scientists for centuries, and it is one of the fundamental questions in vision science. Even the magician's world, they play around with this visual perception time that it takes for people to perceive fast movements. So that's why they have you watch one hand while they do their work in the other hand, or vice versa. The time machine brain. In the latest research, we discovered a new mechanism that, among others, can explain this illusory stability. The brain automatically smooths our visual input over time. Instead of analyzing every single visual snapshot we perceive in a given moment on average of what we saw in the past 15 seconds, guys. 15 seconds. So, by pulling together objects to appear more similar to each other, our brain tricks us into perceiving a stable environment. Living in the past can explain why we do not notice subtle changes that occur over time. In other words, the brain is like a time machine which keeps sending us back in time. It's like an app that consolidates our visual input every 15 seconds into one impression that we can handle everyday life. If our brains were always updating in real time, the world would feel like a chaotic place with constant fluctuations in light, shadow, and movement. We would feel like we were hallucinating all the time. We created an illusion to illustrate how this stabilization mechanism works. Looking at the video below, the face on the left side slowly ages for 30 seconds, and yet it is very difficult to notice the full extent of the change in age. In fact, observers perceive the face as aging more slowly than it actually is. To test this illusion, we recruited hundreds of participants and asked them to view close ups of faces morphing chronologically in age in 30-second time lapse videos. When asked to tell the age of the face at the very end of the video, the participants almost consistently reported the age of the face that was presented 15 seconds before. So they watched this video for 30 seconds. They asked them, hey, do you recognize the face? They recognized the face from 15 seconds in the video. Are you guys looking? Keep looking. How much older? Did you guys notice the difference? Did you notice age by 50 or 10 years? 10 years. 2 years, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5. Now, as we watch the video, we are continuously biased towards the past, so the brain constantly sends us back to the previous 10 to 15 seconds where the face was younger. Instead of seeing the latest image in real time, humans actually see earlier versions because our brain's refresh time is about 15 seconds. So this illusion demonstrates that visual smoothing over time can help stabilize perception. What the brain is essentially doing is procrastinating. It's too much work to constantly deal with every single snapshot it receives, so the brain sticks to the past because the past is a good predictor of the present. Basically, we recycle information from the past because it's more efficient, faster, and less work. This idea, which is supported by other results of mechanisms within the brain that continuously bias our visual perception towards our past visual experience, is known as continuity fields. Our visual system sometimes sacrifices accuracy for the sake of smooth visual experience of the world around us. This can explain why, for example, when watching a film, we don't notice subtle changes that occur over time, such as the difference between actors and their stunt doubles. So even the movie industry has been using these visual tricks in order to do production for their videos and their movies. Repercussions. There are positive and negative implications to our brain operating with a slight lag when processing our visual world. The delay is great for preventing us from feeling bombarded from visual input every day, and it can also risk life or death consequences when absolute precision is needed. For instance, if you're a pilot in a plane, you need constant visual updates as you're flying to make sure that you're not crashing into any other planes. Oftentimes, pilots will experience, jet lag and fatigue while they're flying for 12 hours a day at sometimes, and those pilots will often use air traffic control to verify their visual confirmations or just anything that just shows up on radar that they may not be aware of so they don't collide with other planes. And that's relatively how the system works, but they operate on different altitudes and stuff to ensure higher levels of safety. They have different altitude levels at which they place planes that they park in the air before that they move on to the next level and into safety and then eventually land. A lot of people just think that a plane just flies and lands. No, they circle a little bit before they actually land because then it's their turn. But for another example, radiologists examine hundreds of images in batches, seeing several related images one after another. So when looking at an X-ray, clinicians are typically asked to identify abnormalities and then classify them. During this visual search and recognition task, okay, that's very important for grading because that's what they do. They are a visual search and recognition task. That is what graders do. Um, du-du-du, du-du-du, where was I? When looking at an x ray, clinicians are typically asked to identify any abnormalities and then classify them. During this visual search and recognition task, researchers have found that radiologists' decisions were based not only on the present image, but also on images they had previously seen, which could have grave consequences for patients. Our visual system's sluggishness to update can make us blind to immediate changes because it grabs onto our first impression and pulls us towards the past. Ultimately, though, continuity fields promote our experience of a stable world. At the same time, it's important to remember that the judgments we make every day are not totally based on the present, but strongly depend on what we've seen in the past. Yeah, and if you apply this knowledge to the current grading company situation, you have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of backlog cards that need to be graded, and these grading companies are just trying their best to grade everything accurately and provide a accurate grade. But we know that that doesn't happen, and until they change their policy, okay, to say like 5 cards of inspection time per minute, we're not going to see accurate grades, okay? Because you have to check centering, you have to check corners, you have to check surface, and you have to check, was it centering? Surface, corners, centering, surface, corners, centering, edges, edges. I almost forgot edges. Oh my God. So they have 4 areas that they have to inspect, and each area has, as you saw in that video up there, you can only put a small amount of time of attention to a particular area that you're inspecting. So they have to spend about, I would say, a good minute to a minute and a half accurately reviewing each section of a graded card. Now, obviously, like first edition base set Charizard Shadowless is going to get more attention at the office, and there's going to be like 30 or 40 people that are wanting to go take a look at that thing, and either for employee training or just to update a visual reminder of what something that looks real or looks, if it is real, they are grading it to check. But if it is real, they want to just get that visual reminder back in their mind. They may want to spend a few minutes looking at it before they wrap it up and send it off to the lucky guy or gal that received that card. So you have backlogs of product, and you have a company that wants to be productive, but if they're rushed, and they are, you're not going to get accurate grades. So PSA, BGS, they're not going to do accurate grades when they're rushed. We all know that they are, BGS, PSA are the top-notch grading companies there are, but that there is something to be said about if their methods are copied and another grading company has those methods and they enact those methods and they don't have as much of a turnaround time or a backlog of things that have to come in, they may be able to accurately grade better. So this is actually an argument for new grading companies that are entering and helping with this backlog of grading that is plaguing our industry right now. Because I know that some people have waited a year and a half for their stuff and it's finally arriving. So it's very, very interesting. A year and a half is a long time to wait for a graded card to come back. I'll tell you that. And it's not that they spend a year and a half looking at it. They have a backlog and they probably spent about a minute, 2 minutes, maybe 3. But they need to spend about 4 or 5 minutes to actually get a accurate visual representation of the physical card in front of them so that they can remove the past card's images from their mind before they work on the next one. And it just sounds like an excuse for graders to be lazy, but I promise you, if grading companies pick up a 5-minute per card grading rule, that's 12 cards per hour that they can encapsulate and grade accurately, they will grade accurately. And if they apply the standard industry methods to their grading processes. So that's what I'm getting at here today is grading companies are rushed. You're not going to get accurate grades. If the grading company has a scientific standardized method of grading and they apply this new research and new knowledge and they allow for more time for cards to be graded accurately, then you're going to see a more accurate grading environment. That's what the ultimate goal of this video is about. I hope you all enjoy this. Thanks for stopping by. Remember to have fun, and you all have a wonderful day. And peace.